Hello R12 and welcome to part 3 of shading. So if you don't have a background, I would just take a look at, I have some kind of ground, surface happening. I've shaded my sidewalks. I've shaded my road. Oh, I didn't finish all that. So I will take a picture when I'm 100% done and post that picture of all the stones. I forgot about that. I just added like lines on the fence and then I just blended over them and then erased and cleaned up before I did the grass. Okay, so if you like your background just drawn with line and you don't want to shade it, that's okay because that also is a technique in drawing to make it look like atmospheric perspective. If you want to just shade it, so we're just going to shade it a little bit. We're going to give it a little bit of value. So I'm going to start with the tree over here. I'm going to like darken my trunk and some of the bigger branches, which some of them are already. Then with the blender, I'm going to go back over them. Okay. So you have a couple different options for leaves. You can, like Frank Lloyd Wright did, he just took like actual lines, like short, long, short, long, short, long, some different sizes of lines. And so he just shaded with line and left it. So let me have you guys look a little bit closer to that. So that's all he did for each little piece. Short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. Another option is, and I'm going to do this over here so you can see it, is to kind of do some controlled scribbling. So you just kind of make it like kind of twitch your arm around, like I kind of like go every which way but smaller. And then I wouldn't blend that, I would just kind of leave it. So it looks like a different texture than the house. So I kind of prefer this method, but if you want to keep it really simple, you can just use the lines like Frank Lloyd Wright did, or you can do a combination. So maybe I'm just going to add a little bit of, this is what we call scumbling, where it's controlled scribbles. It's used a lot in architectural drawings for plants and stone and things that have texture on them that they don't want to sit and draw necessarily. All right, so that's how I'm gonna leave my plant, and I'm gonna shade in that tree a little bit more. Okay, so for the sun, do not fill in the sun. For the sun, I'm going to go like around it and kind of clean up the edge of it. And if you want like a glowy effect, I'll show you how to do that, but the sky should be darker than the sun. Okay, so I'm going to use the side of my pencil. I'm holding my pencil horizontally. Circular motion. I'm going to fade out from the sun, and I'm just going to kind of fade out into the sky, and I am going underneath my clouds. And actually, I am going to flip my drawing upside down, so I don't have to be so worried about all of this area. So again, put your paper so your arm is comfortable. Or put your paper so it's easier. Make it easier on yourself. So I'm just kind of fading out into what's there in the sky part. And I'm just going to do a little bit. So I'm keeping the sun white. I'm going to shade a little bit of the cloud underneath. So I usually do the underneath side of the clouds, kind of like circle scribbly. Okay, the top side, I'm going to fade out into the sky. So, this part, I'll just make a cloud there. Okay. And I'll turn it right side up when I'm done. You may need to sharpen your pencil while you're doing this. So not necessarily scribbles, but if it's a little bit liney, it's okay because we're just suggesting. We don't want like, huge differences in value between the background and sorry, in your subject matter. We just want like a little suggestion of more realistic clouds. I'm gonna add like a little bit of detail in the clouds. Okay, so for puffy, fluffy clouds, this is when you might have to actually turn it right side up. So I wanted it to be like a little bit longer over here, but then puffier over here, like a storm is brewing or something of the sort. So I already drew my curved, like puffy clouds. So wherever they overlap, so like here, around. So on the outside, on the bottom side, a couple like curved parts, kind of like popcorn. So I usually do the sky before the mountains. So then the mountains have contrast. So then you can determine, should my mountains be lighter? Should they be darker? I'm kind of twitching my arm a little bit so that it's not perfect. Like we want them to look irregular, more natural. Okay, so then we're definitely cheating. We're gonna use tissue. So get a new one, or I just find like a clean spot on the one I was using. I am gonna turn it upside down to do this, and I'm avoiding the sun. Avoiding the sun. Okay, so probably I'm gonna use a blender around the sun actually. So that when I'm blending with my tissue, I'm not getting closer, overlapping. Okay, everything else we can cheat with. Okay, so circular motion like you're cleaning. I don't press very hard because it's really easy, since we're being kind of light and gentle, it's really easy to like blend away your detail. Okay, be very careful when you get right up to the edge of the house. And I'm going to go back. Erase. All right, so circular motion. And if you like it like this, because you're like, yeah, that looks good, then you can leave it. Notice how I'm touching in the border. Try not to touch my paper. I'm going to fade down to like the mountain area. If you're going to do a lot of detail in your trees, you might want to do your sky first and then do your trees. But mine's like kind of subtle. Okay. So then we put all the shadows in kind of medium values. Let me blend this out a little bit more. Okay, so notice how the sun stayed white. Okay, so then with your pinky eraser, you're going to use the same kind of scribbly motion, and we're going to put highlights on the cloud. So anything facing the sun, or I guess this could be a moon. It almost looks like a moon. Okay, so I'm kind of scribbly. I'm erasing out highlights. So I'm not erasing out the whole cloud. Then I can kind of like blot to make it look like puffy. So it's like you're drawing the light parts with the eraser. And I would just use the tissue to wipe it away. So wherever the tops are that kind of face the sun or the moon, whatever you want it to end up being. Okay, so over here, I have like area where no clouds are. I'm just gonna draw one in there. And you can always YouTube like how to shade clouds with pencil or graphite. And I'm sure there's tons of videos on how to do this. This is just my quick way. And it, doesn't look that bad. If you want storm clouds, I would definitely do another layer. So let me erase that. I think over here I'm gonna do another layer of darks and like kind of just avoid the lights. yeah, I feel like, yeah, I'm going to do another layer over here. So I'm going to do that same kind of effect, like kind of scribbly. Maybe not everywhere, just in a few places. So the key is that you kind of like twitch your shoulder and let your hand be loose, but still control it with like your fingertips. So you have to kind of have a different level of control. And if you wanted to be really specific, you of course can use your blender, but I feel like then it gets really dark with the blender, and we just want it to have, you know, a little bit of value. And you can always go back and erase back out your highlights. With anything, with the grass, the clouds, the trees, your plants, bushes, anything you add into your drawing, the more layers you do, the better it looks with graphite, because then you're like building up those layers. Okay, so I feel like I do want my mountains to have a little bit of value, but I'm going to put value just on the side facing away from the sun. So the sun coming from the right. So that means I'm just going to add, and maybe like a little bit of like scribbliness to give it some texture. And I'm going to do the tree on top of this one. Add that in there. So then, just kind of going over it so it's subtle. So it looks like it's far away. And I don't have mountains on that side. So of course, if you have bigger mountains, let's say I have a mountain behind there, well then the mountain behind it, if you have layers of mountains, the mountains, as they get further away, they would get lighter. So the front ones would be darker, and if I had other ones behind it, they would get lighter for atmospheric perspective. Okay, so I will take a picture of my finished drawing, because I do need to finish all the stone that I didn't do. But that is pretty much it. And I'll finish that tree and add my grass over here. And then my grass is gonna be super tiny, you know, when I get over there. But then you're done. And you probably drew the best 2-point perspective building you ever have. So congratulations on finishing, but make sure you like fully finish before you take a picture just like me. All right, good luck.